Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live Baltimore Presents. I am Baltimore, and today I am bringing you X-Men The End. This is a 2004 to 2006 miniseries, trilogy. So there were 3 books in this. The return of Chris Claremont to the X-Men to tell their final tale. Amazing. The art by Sean Chen was great, really, really beautiful. And what I appreciated about this is Chris has always been kind of vocal about having the X-Men grow up and age and retire and have the new, groups come up in their stead. So this was kind of a way to kind of do that. There was a lot of junior X-Men that are kind of raised to more importance, or at least more around a little bit more. I mean, of course, you're going to get Cyclops and Jean and Wolverine and Beast, Rogue, Gambit. Like those are the mainstays, and they're going to get a lot of interplay play here. But it was nice to see a lot more of the extended cast playing a little bit of a role. So the first book one was called Dreamers and Demons. The second book was Heroes and Martyrs. And the third book was called Men and X-Men. And, I thought it was a great overall 18 issues to kind of wrap up and tell the end of the X-Men. And the X-Men do end, but not in the way that you may think, which I kind of appreciated a lot more once I've reread the entire thing again. So I thought, from first reading it, when I was reading it as it came out, each issue, it was a lot of shock value. It was a lot of like, oh, I don't know about this. Oh, I'm not really sure. But, letting the dust settle a little bit, fading on, who's actually happening, what the story is, I was able to kind of have a renewed interest in these books. And I thought they did a great job overall, really kind of selling the story. Chris Claremont being back is a huge get, so that's great. But basically it starts with Alea, who is the daughter of Bishop and Deathbird. She's in the Shi'ar Empire, and she takes the Starjammers ship, which is kind of possessed by Carol Danvers, which is a nice nod to her being binary. And she discovers a phoenix egg that was going to be traded by the slavers to Sinister. So she takes that, she rescues the phoenix egg, and is able to kind of take it on board. And of course, all that happens actually releases Jean Grey, and she's awakened. And so she's returned. And of course, this book is taking place, some years in the future of current X-Men continuity. So that's something to keep in mind. But so, they find out there's this plot that's happening, and they have to get back to Earth. And the Lalandra, just finding out that Phoenix is alive, sends the War Scrolls to kill all the X-Men, to defeat them, to stop them from intervening. And, there's always a little bit more involved with Lalandra than you think about. It turns out she and Xavier did have a son, Zavi, who is heir to the Shi'ar Empire. But also, Deathbird has a daughter, Alea, with Bishop, who's heir to the Shi'ar Empire. So that's a little bit of interesting little conflict going on there. So basically the War Scrolls come to Earth and they kind of wipe out X-Force with a few exceptions. And at the same time, Kitty is running for mayor of Chicago. So that's kind of an interesting political, move up for her, kind of getting her into a new space, and a very public space. But it's a quite interesting kind of exploration and development of the character that he created, getting her into a political element. An attack by Strife, Genesis, and Madeline Pryor on the Institute leaves scores of X-Men dead. And rereading it again, I kind of see all these people that you've grown up with, you have affection for, that you've read about in this last battle, and you see the devastation and the sacrifices, the heroic sacrifices that are made by characters, and it's really breathtaking and beautiful to have those moments and those individual characters really doing what those characters would do. So the end of book one right here ends with the Xavier Institute being destroyed. Xavier and Magneto are actually in Genosha, so they're not there. Cyclops is not at the mansion, at the Institute. It's Kitty that was there, and she saves a bunch of students, and unfortunately, a lot more of the X-Men died in this. So book 2 picks up Heroes and Martyrs with Northstar, who saved Cyclops, but in the ensuing blast from the Institute, wasn't able to survive, and he joins the members of Alpha Flight in the afterlife, which is a nice little gift to them and acknowledgement. So I thought that was really nice to see. We have the Brood are brought back from extinction. Lilandra had made a deal with the slavers to bring a Brood Queen from a different universe into the Marvel universe, and infects her sister Deathbird, unbeknownst to the crew and the Starjammers. So that's kind of a big thing. She wants the Brood to annihilate the X-Men, which is a nice little callback to all the Brood stories that we've had with the X-Men. It also means that Alaya is there and has to kill the Deathbird, her mother, as she's now a Brood Queen. But what we didn't know, is that Alaya has actually been infected by the Deathbird, by the Brood Queen. So that's going to be a big issue coming forward. And you have Wolverine, M, X-23, and Rachel invading Sinister's fortress because Gambit had kidnapped all the kids. Cyclops and Emma Frost have kids. Beast and Cecilia have kids. Sam and Lila have kids. Rogue and Gambit have kids. The kids that are there, Gambit kidnapped them and brought them to Sinister. Everyone thinks he's going to betray the X-Men and go to Sinister, but what he's doing, he's trying to bide his time, get the children safe, so he can betray Sinister, which is kind of part and parcel for Gambit, playing both sides to his advantage. But his true loyalties, of course, lie with the X-Men. Unfortunately, Rogue is mortally wounded, and Gambit is there to see her pass. Mystique comes in and vows to destroy and kill Sinister, which she promptly does, and reveals that she's been masquerading as Dark Beast for a while. So that was interesting to kind of see, okay, that makes sense for where we get to that. Then we have Lilandra is driven insane by the villain of the series, which is Cassandra Nova, which is Xavier's twin, fraternal twin, who he battled in the womb and killed. But she survived and created an entire life to get back at him and his children. So that's the end of Heroes and Martyrs. Basically, that's where we get the crux of those things. Storm and Wolverine come back and are really a big part of the next group, which is Men and X-Men, which I thought was a really great title. I didn't think about it a lot when I was reading it originally, but it's now resonated a lot more. And so that one you get to see Cassandra Nova has kind of corrupted and made insane Lilandra. So these are the reasons why she was acting as she did. And we find out that Khan, the interdimensional warlord Khan, is actually her Lord Chancellor. So there's this isn't good, not good at all. So we kind of see those kind of things take place and kind of really bite the X-Men in the butt. We have Cable and Rachel and Cyclops and Jean trying to fight Cassie. Each of them not succeeding, but each of them taking a toll on her. Each of them doing their best, their sacrifice, their doing everything to defeat her. And we find out that Madeline was not killed in the end of the first book. She's been masquerading as Dust, and her tragic origin is made even worse here, or even more heartfelt, because she reveals that she's the part of Jean that always loved Cyclops, no matter what, and that never died with her. That never was returned back to Jean, and that's why Jean and Cyclops never worked, because the love, the real love, the root of that, the crux, was always with Madeline. And so that's kind of like that, oh, that gut wrenching, like twisting the knife into the Jean and Scott fans, which is I thought was really really perfect in its way. And it allows for Emma and Scott to have a relationship and children and move on. But it was really one of those like tragic moments. You're like, oh yeah, it really gets you. But the X-Men work together. They are best when they are up against the wall, and they are up against the wall for the end. The stakes could not be higher. We have all the X-Men going to fight on two different fronts up in Shi'ar space, and then you have the battle on Earth, which Kitty is trying to win the mayoral race that she's in Chicago, and she's up against a very anti-rabid, anti-mutant candidate. So when she actually wins at the end, it's this really great moment. You're like, it's a great relief to see that kind of hope persevere and rise up, and Kitty capitalizes on it. And I thought it was really beautiful to kind of see that kind of bookend the series. Not a lot of people make it out alive. This is the end X-Men, no lie about that. But what was really nice is the end kind of jumps forward another 20 years, or another few years, can't remember exactly the amount, but Kitty is now in the White House. She is President of the United States, and she officially disbands the X-Men and ends the X-Men forever, which I thought was kind of like, now that's a fitting ending to the X-Men saga. We get them kind of where they don't have to be used. But overall, these three books I thought were really fascinating. I enjoyed them a lot more reading them all together now, because there's a lot more depth and context than you originally think about, especially if you're reading like one after one over a series of months. Things kind of just lose focus, and you don't kind of remember on everything. But when you read them all the way through, you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, and all those things kind of fall into place, which is really, really great. Chris Claremont, you did a great job. Really appreciate it. Your love and affection for the X-Men, boundless, and we're all grateful for that. Sean Chen, you did a great job. Artwork is incredible and really thrilling, and you did a great job with the action sequences and all the emotional moments as well. But let me know what you think about X-Men The End. 18 issues, 3 miniseries in total. Let me know in the comments below. Tell me about it. Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, it's all geek to us.